Welcome back, guys, to another video. I've been thinking of building a simple authentication middleware, and I just did that. On the screen, I've created a custom authentication middleware class on which it is a middleware. And then guess what? I have configured this thing, or I've put it on my application pipeline. I have registered this thing, as you can see here. And then how did I do this thing? Simple. I've created an extension on which it returns a builder, application builder of what? Of this type. This is pretty simple, right? Okay. Now, I'm going to be diving into what is actually happening. I've built an MVC application on which we just want to test our skills in terms of building our own custom middleware. In this case, it will be about authenticating. When we authenticate, we want to authenticate from a specific page, on which in this case will be from our login page. Right? Now, but we have to be careful of something. We need to know where the request is coming from. That's why we do have our referrer here. We check where the request is coming from. Now let's go back to the part where I said I want to introduce you to this application. I do have two controllers, on which is the home controller, on which it does have, I think, one page. Okay, 2 pages on which is index. This will be our LinkedIn page, nothing interesting. And then we do have another view called index within the account controller, on which this is our login form. This is where we're going to be testing most of the things. It does have a model called login, model of type login, on which it's username and password. And then when we send this thing, we're going to be sending it straight to our signing within our account control, meaning everything will be sent to this thing. As you can see, it receives a login model, and then it does some validation. And then if however everything is valid, it's just going to be redirecting to the home controller and the index action. I hope that one makes sense. This is the interface that I've configured in order to give guidance to this user service implementation. And then we just did that here. Pretty simple. Now, let's go back to our main thing here. Within our custom authentication middleware, there are things that you need to pay attention to or realize. We do have our referrer, on which it checks where the request is coming from. And also we do know our login URL, on which our expectation is that before this URL is mostly used, it's supposed to be mostly used when this thing and this thing are the same. That's why here we check if it's login request, on which what we do is that, let me try to close this door. Okay, so what we do is that we check if however our referring URL, meaning our referrer URL, basically it is the same as the login URL, meaning does this request come from our login page, on which it is our login page. And then the next thing what we do, we check if however the so-called request, we check if however the form, the request does contain a form. This is what this thing does. And then now we check, we say if this thing is true, this is what we're going to be doing. Now we get the form. This is our form. And then from our form, we build our user. We get the username, and then we map it here, and then we do the rest. Once we have built our user here, there's a chance that we might, I don't know, but maybe throw some exception, but we didn't cater for any scenarios on which things could go wrong. That's why we just did not try to even consider about doing some trackage and all this kind of stuff. Now, since we have managed to build our login user, what we're going to be doing now, we're going to be checking if user exists. I've created a function called user exists, in which it takes a login model and then also HTTP context. And then from then we resolve get our service through this request service, and then we check if it exists. Remember something, our IUSE service does contain a function called IExist, on which it returns true or false, depending on whether the user exists within the application. Now, when you go back, once this thing has a return, meaning it has said whether the user exists or not. If the user does not exist within the application, these are the things we're going to be doing. We're going to be changing our status code for the response, and then we're going to make it 403, meaning for period. We're not authenticated to do a specific thing. And then the next thing we're going to be redirecting our user to the error on which our error page is somewhere here. This is our error page on which is written failed to authenticate user. When we go back, let's close this thing again. When we go back, we have, okay, so once we have managed to do the redirecting, we return this thing. The reason we want to return this thing and not pass the context to another middleware is because our next middleware, if you pay attention, is the control, meaning data is going to be sent to the controller. And our controller is this one. And then remember something, our controller doesn't do the part of authenticating. All it does is checks if however the model is valid, meaning it does contain things that it's supposed to contain. There are no null values and all those kind of things. And that if there are null values, what it's going to do, it's going to return the same page on which it'll be our login page. But if not, meaning everything is valid, like do you have some values on the username and password field, then what we're going to be doing is going to be redirecting this person to this page. But that's not what we want. We want to redirect this user to this page only if they are authenticated, meaning they exist within the application. Now, let's go back to our thing. We return our application, meaning we don't pass our context to another middleware. Meaning middlewares below this current middleware, they won't even get time. They won't even be given a chance to process the request. It does make sense, right? But if however the user exists, we're going to be setting the cookies. We provide the login model and then the HTTP context. And then this is where we set our cookies. We get the service as usual, and then we get our response cookies. From the response cookies, we set these cookies on which, okay, we do get cookies from our user saves, on which is this thing, on which the name of the cookie will be guest name, and then the other one will be secret code, on which you can see guest name is just the username and secret code is just the password of the user. This is not for security purposes, just to know or understand middleware. We're not trying to do something crazy. We're really trying to protect the system. Now, we're just demonstrating how to use middleware or how to understand the process of application pipeline. Now let's go back to the next part. So once we've managed to get our cookies on which that returns a dictionary, and then what we do is that from the cookies list, what we're going to be doing is that for every cookie within the cookie list, we're going to be doing something of assigning new cookies to the HTTP response cookies, on which is this thing. And then that'll be it. Let me show you what the application looks like when I run this thing. It is pretty simple application, and then I feel like it's important to know this thing as a .NET developer or any developer to understand application pipeline and how to build your own custom middlewares. Now let's log in. So this is the form that we were talking about. As you can see, this action is the same as the one we have configured here, we wrote here. And then since this thing contains a form, this condition will become true. So now let's send some details. Let's see. So you can see that we are not authenticated because the details that we have provided do not even exist within this list. So that's why it failed. Now we're going to be providing details that exist, and then on which is ABC and 1, 2, 3. On which you can see now we've managed to get to the part, because everything was success. Now let's check our cookies. If we inspect, I'm going to try to zoom in the wall. Now from the application, if you check our cookies, oh, that was too loud. Let's try to zoom in more. So as you can see, we do have our secret code, which is 1, 2, 3. And then if you remember, we said our secret code is equal to password. And if you remember our password was exactly 1, 2, 3. And our guest name was the username, on which is the same as the one we set here. So that's much it for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next upcoming video.